everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Habitual Growth Podcast. As always, I am Nathan, and this is Lisa. And together, we are going to give you, hopefully, a lot of valuable information so that you can go out, do more, be more, and live more. Because this is the podcast where excuses come to die, discipline is built, and lives are changed. And today, we've got a really interesting episode, which I feel like I say every time. But I'm excited for this one because we try to touch on subjects as they become relevant. And as we make this push in towards the end of the year, and everybody tends to be focusing on locking in, I think is the new thing that kids are saying these days on TikTok and Snapchat and all that. But today we're going to talk about digital detox and how it relates to locking in, because there are so many phrases that we hear all the time, which is, put your phone down, really focus, you can't multitask, all these things. Yeah. But the digital detox has a lot of really good benefits that are not necessarily prescriptive, but they hit everybody independently. And I think, Lisa, you have got some really good thoughts just around what it's been able to do for you historically when you've put your smartphone away or put screens away.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when people think about digital detox, or whatever the kids are saying these days, Nate,
it's real.
It's real. It really, people automatically jump to social media, right? So digital detox equates like, I'm not going to go on social media, but I think it's actually one step further, is unplugging from anything that takes away your focus or makes your brain work in almost a multitasking manner. So I was reading something the other day about YouTube and, scrolling through YouTube or Reels on Instagram. And actually that is worse for your brain in its ability to refocus than it is if you were going to go out and drink 3 alcoholic beverages.
Wow.
And that, really kind of woke me up, especially with an 11-year-old son who loves YouTube shorts. And I think that's where I have found the most benefit, right? Is yes, social media, you can get pushed down a rabbit hole. You can start to compare to people's perfect lives on it. All that is important, yes, to step away from. But for me, it's the ability to build your brain's focus around what you intentionally want it to focus on so that you can move faster and more efficiently towards your goals, especially in this latter part of the year.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. And I'm glad you brought it up in that capacity because, yes, I think people are well aware of, social media provides these dopamine hits. When you get shorts, it's just like hit after hit after hit.
Yeah.
And there are numerous studies. Anybody can look them up just around what it does for sleep, what it does for attention, what it does for depression, which is a big topic that we're going to be getting into here in one of the later episodes as well. But I like that you said you really focused around multitasking, but also productivity, because last week, one of the things that we talked about was just really locking in, setting goals now for 2020. How do you make the most of the last few months of the year? And this is absolutely one of those things that anybody can do right away to lock in. Even if you don't have this 2026 goal set up right now, but you say, hey, here's a milestone that I want to be able to hit. I'm only going to do these things. I'm going to turn my phone off at 7 p.m. or I'm going to put headphones on and I'm just going to focus on whatever task is in front of me. That will naturally increase your productivity by at least 2-fold, if not 3-fold or more, just by simply putting all the distractions away.
Yeah. And I've done 2 different maybe tips for people that have worked for me. One, I've utilized time blocking, and I've talked in length about this before, where it's, you set a timer, literally like a little old school timer, put it by whatever, and then anything else outside of what you're doing gets put away. Your smartphone's in another room, you shut off any music that's maybe playing in the background, and just focus for whatever period of time until that buzzer goes off. The other thing that I think is really helpful is actually a complete detox. So when I'm on my computer, I might be reading something and trying to focus on it, but my Teams chat is going off. It's dinging when I get emails, and you try and silence them or stop notifications, but it's not always possible. So if there is something that I really need to read and focus on, I will physically print it, remove my computer from the room along with my phone, and sit just at a desk focused on that paper, because that is the ultimate digital detox. There's nothing else that's going to come in that's
Yeah.
going to try and drive your attention away from it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's two things I kind of want to focus on here. So one, exactly what you talked about. Let's turn off all the notifications. I mentioned the headphone things. That is something that I actually did last night. So Alex Hormozy is a huge proponent of this, right? I mean, he
Yeah.
doesn't open blinds in his office on his windows. He keeps everything closed, turns off all notifications, put headphones on, and just focuses on the task. I had to do that last night. At one point I was trying to watch a movie while I was trying to do a write up for the business. And I finally was like, I've been sitting here for 20 minutes and I've written like 3 or 4 sentences. Like, this is terrible. So I put headphones on, I put my music on, I put the iPad away, and really dialed in. And I got a lot of things done very quickly.
Yeah.
But it is that start stop, like you said. I didn't know that about the alcoholic beverages, but I think that's a really good example, because the stat is it takes us about 15 to 20 minutes to get back into flow state. Once our attention has been distracted, we
Yeah.
try to shift it back. So all of those dinging messages that you had mentioned, if they're coming in, if you're getting a text message, if somebody's hitting you on Slack or WhatsApp or whatever it is, or your wife comes in or your husband comes in to talk to you about something, that always carries an attention shift, and it takes you time to get back. So when you can just focus in, you really dial, you really stay prioritized, and you get a lot more done. You're a lot more productive. The second thing that I really want to mention, and this is clutch, because during the holidays, towards the end of the year, we've got these big goals we're trying to set up for. We're wrapping up the end of the year. We want to enjoy the family. We want to be grateful for things. We want to spend time with loved ones during the holidays. But enjoyment comes with single focus as well. And so yes, it's a digital detox. Yes, there are the stigmas with it. And again, like you said, it's not just about social media, but it does create, when you put those screens away, it does create these much more fulfilling and joyful moments. You can be happier in the moment because you're not having FOMO. You're not thinking about what other people are doing. You're not deciding, hey, 20 minutes, it's going to be this position with this photo, with this editing, to give everybody the example of my best life. You're just there in the present moment to be there to really enjoy life at its fullest.
Yeah, I actually saw this last Friday. We were at the Gopher football game, and there was some kids in front of us, probably middle school-ish, maybe ninth grade. And during the whole opening, thing that they do, they were constantly videoing. And it caught me because I've been there too, for sure, right? You want to take a video, you want to remember it, all the things. But when you do that, you actually lose the ability to be present in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think about how much different that experience would be for them if they took a picture of something, put their phones away, and then just enjoyed being present in all the energy that was there versus focusing on trying to capture all different aspects on video.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think the attention deficit is far underestimated. As you were kind of talking about this, one of the things that I've been doing a lot of research in is people's inability to recall information after they've used a platform like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So let's take AI as an example. It does a lot of things really effectively, but now when students are going in, or even professionals, and you're having it craft a social media post or a write-up for you or answer questions, but you're just giving it a prompt and it's doing all the work, you're not recalling the information. There's no retainment. It's just here's the things, the steps that I followed, but I didn't really do anything. I'm just taking what's given to me. I'm not even proofreading it. I'm not editing it. I'm just pushing it out there, and there's no attention. And that comes with those real life experiences too. And I think back, right, let's age ourselves before cell phones, right? We didn't have a lot of that, but a lot of the nostalgia that we had came from, playing outside or being with friends or creating the moment of doing things. And there are very few moments where I'm taking a phone and I'm putting it in front of my kid's face, or I'm recording something for the business that I actually remember, because I'm just going through the motions to get something done. I'm not actually present. I'm not focused. I'm not paying attention to those little moments that at the end of the day really create a lot of that happiness that fulfills me personally.
Yeah, I think I've tried to do this with my kids, like when we take vacations, because it's really easy to plan a vacation, plan every minute, all these things that you want to do because you're going to this great, amazing place. And what we've actually used as our approach over the last 5 years is we'll pick two things that we really want to do as a family and get those on the calendar. And everything just becomes space to figure it out as we go. And when we've left that space to be present, to say yes to something that we didn't, know would be an opportunity, or do something just because we felt like doing it and we didn't feel like doing something else, we've actually had better times together, been more engaged together, and built stronger relationships through those times when there was nothing planned,
Yeah.
because we left the space open to be filled by being present, not by following through on an activity that was pre-planned.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Just to kind of share an example in my life, same thing. My kids are young, as we've talked about, but Sayla comes home and she's got a computer that she likes to draw on, and it's
Yeah.
like, to me, that's still screen time. You're still doing that, and it's funny
Yeah.
because we'll get them to turn it off. And all of a sudden, she's playing with her siblings, and they're having a great time wrestling. And they were outside raking leaves the other day to go jump in the leaf pile. And it's like, that's the type of stuff I want them to be able to do, to have those cherished moments where they're not just sitting and focusing, because it is focus. But it's focusing on, in my opinion, the wrong things in life. But it's not easy, and we have people in our habitual growth group thread as well that will go through a digital detox quite frequently. And it's actually really interesting because we have these short little stints, and it's really hard to get it stick. So I also want people to realize, like, this is not an easy task to do. It might be putting your phone in a different room. It might be, hey, after 7 p.m., the rule is my phone goes off. And once you start to get away from those excuses, it may not stick right away, but once you get, a week into it, 10 days into it, it does become a little bit easier. You realize the world isn't going to burn down. You realize, hey, I may not have all of these likes on social media, or people aren't caught up with me, or maybe they need to call me to figure out, like, how to have a real conversation instead of a heart or a thumbs up on Facebook or whatever it is. But it takes work. It does take time. You're rebuilding these neural pathways, but that is the part of creating longer attention spans, of looking where you're actually prioritizing and focusing your attention, how to be a little bit more productive, especially in these last few months of the year.
Yeah, I was reading a book a while back, and I think we talked about it. I can't remember the life of me, what the name of it is right now. But the premise of the book was basically being unbusy. And it was written by a pastor, and he actually started. So going back to, like, people kind of come and go and do things, and it takes a while for a habit to stick. And they actually used Sundays in honor of the Sabbath to do nothing.
Yeah.
So not only did they not put away, or did they put away, their cell phones, their TVs, but they literally did not do work, so it was the food they had was pre-prepared, and they just spent the days as a family. And he talks about in the book how weird it was to start. And it took a while to get into it, because they were like, well, what do we do? What do we talk about? There's nothing, but over time, it actually became the most cherished day of the week for them, because it taught them how to interact differently, how to be appreciative of the small things, and also to sit in the quiet. And I think that's a very important part of digital detox too, is being okay in a place where you don't have distraction, and it doesn't start to invoke anxiety or feelings of uncomfortableness.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the stillness, the letting your mind wander without being distracted, is a really big one. And it's weird. Like, I'm a person that doesn't actually like silence at all. I always have something going on in the back end, but it takes, like, I'm working up to it. I'm trying to do slower things, like meditate. They don't always. But the book you're talking about is The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry.
Hurry, that's what it is. Yeah.
It is a very good book. Yes, it is really weird to try out, but it is something that I and Bree, my wife, want to do towards the end of this year. And Bree's actually very good about protecting the Sabbath and her Sundays. We do work, we run kids to sports and things like that. But having a day where you're trying to do very little, you're not even creating an essential action list sometimes, that is a priority for her based on what she wants to get out of her goals and milestones in life. So I think that's a really good example. So for you, Lisa, what are a couple of things that you're going to be doing over the next couple of months for a digital detox that you can share with people?
Oh, so for me, going into the holidays, I have historically tried to capture everything in picture form, video form, all of the activities. I find myself now actually wanting people to put things away and just sit together. So as we get closer to, Thanksgiving and Christmas, it's finding ways to do things as a family, without the distraction of phones. And that could be, yeah, maybe watching a Christmas movie, but it could be wandering around a Christmas market or strolling through the neighborhood and looking at lights. It doesn't have to be anything huge, but
Mhm.
just being very intentional on a weekly basis of placing that time in our lives to not have distraction and
Yeah.
just figure out how we interact, as a family now with the girls being off to college. It's changed the dynamic and given us a different opportunity to bond when they're home.
Yeah.
um, the other thing that I am going to be working on is more of the time blocks again. For me, I was really great about it. It was very effective. I've hit a point where I'm starting to feel very distracted and anxious.
Yeah.
And I hate that term, but all the pinging, all the stuff, and I feel like I can never turn things off because there's so many things coming my way. And so
Mhm.
reinstituting that time blocking, whether if I can commit to an hour a day or 2 hours of just really focused work to get things done.
Yeah.
That's something that I feel is kind of bubbling up as a priority for me to ensure that I'm really moving the blocks that need to be moved by the end of the year to set me up for the new year on a good foot.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like those two. I'm going to do the same thing. Actually, I'm going to take your second and make it my first. Because one of the things that I've realized is I like to work late when the family goes to bed, and my excuse has always been, well, I need the extra time. But the reality is, I don't focus enough during the day,
Mhm.
and so the time block thing is huge. When you time block, when you stop being distracted, you put your screens on do not disturb, and you just really dial in. With I always find like having some study music or something like that in the background. Non-lyrical helps me quite a
Yes.
bit. Um, I get a lot more done during the day, so I don't feel the obligation. I mean, I always want to try to get as much done as possible, but I don't feel the obligation of like I'm this far behind now. I actually have to stay up now. It's a choice of like, hey, I can put in the extra effort and get a little bit ahead if I do that. So time blocking is one of them for me. And then I just realized, especially like you said about the holidays, for me to feel more enjoyment, to feel more fulfilled. Really, what I try to go after is putting my phone away when the family is home. So turning it off and not just putting it away like in my pocket, but like literally leaving my phone somewhere else that's not around me for a couple of hours when I'm home with the family. And I just saw this last night. The kids are taking a bath, and I'm going from the kids over to browse social media or look up something. And I don't like that dynamic. They come over, and I'm just staring at my phone.
Yeah.
And for us as parents, in particular, we have to use that as an example. How are we distracting ourselves when we could be in the moment, having a conversation, working with the kids, learning about their day, sharing what happened with yours, really building some more of those foundational community blocks or relationship blocks that we think are so important, especially around the holiday season.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm hit with that one all the time too, especially with an 11-year-old who wants to know what the score of the game is or what the weather is going to be tomorrow. And,
Yeah,
that's his go-to is watching me search something versus that's a great question, buddy. Let's, take a look at that later when we're back on our phones. And because right now we are focused on doing something together.
that's right. Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, love this series. Anybody watching, thank you for joining us. Hopefully this was helpful for you as well. If you've got some comments that you want to share below, let us know what you are doing for your digital detox, especially as you lock in towards the end of the year here. And as always, if there's any other topics that you want to hear from us, get thoughts, opinions, we'd love to share them with you. So just write that in a comment and we'll make sure that we include that in a future episode.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thanks, Nate. Great to see
Awesome.
you.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.